What a wild weekend! Yes, we got a new one. YouTubers left and right are getting arrested. Donald Trump all of a sudden has had a shocking change of mind. And now he's saying, release the files. Africa is on the verge of ocean wars. Apple dropped the most controversial product of the year. And the UK government is about to piss off the whole damn country because they want to shrink the size of the roads. All of that and so much more. Once you like the video, we shall stop the yapping. Have you done it? And let's go! Okay, I guess we gotta start today off with the bizarre string of YouTubers arrested over the weekend. Not only was the world's most hated streamer, Jack Doherty, arrested, and people are celebrating it, but also WHISTLINDIESEL. And the reason for that one must be insane because the bond was set at $2 million. That's insane. But let's start with Jack. Now, according to the police allegations, over the weekend, he was in Miami with a group of friends and they were crossing the road. This is when Jack apparently splits from the group and he attempts to engage officers while on the road. And this is like 3 a.m. in the morning. Now, police tell Jack that he is blocking traffic and that he's creating a safety hazard. And even when the police and people in his friendship group were telling him, okay, just come through, move, he refused. And he said he had to complete a bet. May I remind you, 22 years old, completing bets in the road. Just important context there. And also to make it very clear, he essentially got himself arrested. You know, they warned him, you were going to get arrested. He refused to listen. So once they actually do, they search him and they find drugs on his person, including amphetamines and marijuana, and then charged him with drug possession and resisting arrest without violence. And for once, his security couldn't actually protect him from this one. And even one of the police officers, you could just tell how pissed off he was that he even had to make this arrest.
Who the f you think you are, bro? No, you're fucking not. He was trying. Like, after I do this, who the f are you, bro?
I was trying to walk up the street.
Doesn't matter, bro. All you had to do was get in the power. That's it.
But you know, that's Jack's character. I think we've covered a story of his once or twice, and he makes money off of rage baiting the entire world. Now, Jack eventually only spends like 24 hours or less than that in jail, and he immediately posts bail. And now he is milking this arrest. Like he's got t-shirts in the matter of a day. He's got t-shirts printed with his mugshot on it, and he's posted 6 videos in jail. Again, in just a matter of a day or two about his arrest, and even gathered other hated people of the industry, like 6ix9ine, to talk about it. I mean, I feel bad for Alex even having to edit this because, boy, I know Alex is, he's a big fan. So pretty much, for Jack, currently, it seems like getting arrested and using up taxpayer money, your money if you live in America, or in Florida at least, was just actually just a good weekend of content for him because now everyone's speaking about it and there's memes and all of that. And even if he does eventually have to pay a fine, you know, he'll make more money from the exposure than the fine will cost him. I mean, so it's safe to say Jack Doherty, he's reaching unprecedented levels of hate right now. So let's just move on to the next YouTuber very quickly that's got arrested, WHISTLINDIESEL. And this one is actually pretty wild. So hopefully you guys know who WHISTLINDIESEL is. He's got over 10 million subs on YouTube and he makes videos like G-Wagon durability test, destroying a Rolls Royce in 17 minutes. I bought a tank. And then the one that seems to have got him in this trouble and arrested is I bought a $400,000 Ferrari just to destroy it. Now, on the 12th of November, although we only found out about it this weekend, police, they turned up to his property without notice, arrested him, and then charged him with, quote, unlawfully and willingly evading tax due to the state of Tennessee. Now, his arrest documents directly cite the Ferrari, so we know it's got to do with this video, which was made in, I think, 2023. And they accused him of evading sales tax on his purchase, and for those who have watched the video, you'll know that Ferrari is now gone. It caught fire, exploded, it's gone. Now, they didn't mention how exactly they allege he evaded tax on it, but this surprised me for two reasons. One, I had no idea that allegations alone can lead to the police turning up to your property, arresting you without any notice. And two, according to the documents Cody posted on his Instagram and also ones that were reported of the actual documents in the drive, his bond was set at $2 million. Look at that. Look how many zeros are there. Now, $2 million seems way too high for what he's being accused of. For me personally, I feel like, one, this has got to be a typo and they might have just put one too many or two too many zeros for this. Or what he's being accused of is so much more serious than what seems to, like, that we have information about. But then to make things even stranger, there's actually 3 different numbers floating around of what his bond was. Others are saying $20,000, and then there's one floating around that says $200,000. So there's gotta be a zero typo in here somewhere. But here's where things get serious, because tax evasion is a Class E felony, meaning that if found guilty, Cody could face up to 1 to 6 years in prison and a maximum fine of $3,000, and then obviously paying the money back. That is freaking intense. Now, his court date is set for the 19th, so I'll either make an update about how that whole situation goes on Wednesday's video or on Friday's video, depending on when we get it in the day. But he also said that he's going to be turning up to court in his killdozer. My man! Now, if you don't know what the hell that is, you'll just have to watch one of those videos of his. Crazy stuff. Moving on. Okay, this next story is about to piss off a whole ass country. You know, as if the British weren't annoyed enough about the weather, digital ID, the Online Safety Act, having to put their passports to go on you know what. Well, now they can add shrinking roads to the list. Yeah. This is because the UK government is set to narrow the width of their roads across the country for the safety of cyclists. Yo, I don't even think the cyclists necessarily want this, because they're like, government, look, the public hate us enough already. Don't make our problems worse. Now, the Mail on Sunday report that according to official guidance quietly published last week, the standard 12-foot width of a road in Britain could shrink to 10 foot 8 inches so that cars actually don't have enough room to overtake, therefore causing fewer accidents. So, yeah, and that's also so that they can, the cyclists should ride more centrally in the road. So no more overtaking. Bro, imagine, Monday morning, you're late for work, a cyclist in front of you. Going uphill. I need to get out of here, bro. This country is about to implode with anger. Now, a little caveat to that, they do say that some lanes should be expanded to at least 12 foot 10 inches, giving them more room to overtake. But the Mail Online also say that according to experts, it's much more likely that they shrink because of logistics and things like that. So yeah, and to give you a perspective on kind of the precedent of this, the 12-foot standard width has been the standard in Britain for nearly 150 years. That's like horse and carriage type beat. Now, the Mail on Sunday also say that the guidance will be applied to billions of pounds of future road building schemes, and local authorities which defy the recommendations could see reduced transport funding. The Standard report that ATE guidance is not legally binding, however, councils are expected to follow it. So the question is for you guys, do you think that this is a good idea or not? Moving on! Talking about anger in the air, there is actually something that happened over the weekend which may be infuriating people more than shrinking roads. It has only been 2 days since Apple released their $230 sock pocket thing, and it's already becoming the most controversial product of the year. Now, as you've probably already seen, Apple's Pocket announcement was met with huge trolling online, especially since, you know, it was priced, which is essentially a piece of cloth, a sock, at $150 for the short version, and a eye-watering, let my eyes water for this one, $230 for the long one.
If you spend a penny on the iPhone Pocket,
Maddie wanted me to tell you guys that she thinks it looks like a mankini.
Oh la la. Oh well.
NEWSSDADDYY, there you go. Now, the allure to this, and maybe to justify the price tag, one, it's in collaboration with the designer Miyake, and there's nostalgia behind this too, because 20 years ago, Apple released the iPod Sock, and this when Steve Jobs was still alive, all of that, but that was $29 for a 6-pack. This is $230 for one. So because of this, many people started making videos online saying that this was the worst product Apple has ever dropped.
No one should be buying a literal sock to put around your shoulder to put your iPhone in. If you walk anywhere near me wearing an iPhone pocket, I'm gonna do something to your pocket.
Saying that people will not spend money on this, but if they do, then we will pass the point of no return. Especially considering the current cost of living crisis that everyone is complaining about. Surely no one buys this, right? Wrong. Because when this thing was released on Friday, they sold out. Almost immediately. We're cooked, chat. And now I think people are actually angry at the people who spent the money. So if you were one of those people, maybe just wait a couple of days for people to cool off before you wear it in public, because I think this is like hate crime triggering level of anger. But what do you guys think? Is this worth the price tag? It's fashion. Each person, it's subjective. Fashion is a subjective thing. You can't put a price on it. Or is it a crime against humanity to spend that money on what it is? Maybe. Just maybe this is the perfect gift idea. Maybe I should buy one for Alex. And then he'll be forced to wear it because it's so expensive and he wouldn't want to waste it. Maybe he'll use it for his axe instead of his phone. Loki, I think this might be the purchase of the century. Alex, you know what you're getting for Christmas, boy? And it's going to be bright orange too. Moving on! Also this week, I have run the numbers. We have only about 15 videos left for the year. And guess what? We still have 80,000 subscribers before 1 million. That means we need over 5,000 subscribers on average per video before the end of the year. We only average 1.5 right now. So I'm pulling out the big guns. Alex and I, we've already spoken about this. If we hit 1 million by the end of the year, I will fly to Canada or a place of Alex's choosing, and we will meet for the first time ever. I can't even believe that we haven't met yet. And we'll make a video. If we don't hit 1 million, I will fire Alex. 100% serious. You guys, clearly a carrot isn't enough for you guys. You need a stick. And you know what I'll do? I will hire the most boring editor the world has to offer. And then you're going to be watching just me yap about nothing. So, save Alex's job by subscribing to the channel right now. Moving on! Okay, we've got to talk about Africa's ocean wars, because if anyone's watching from Kenya, sorry to tell you, you might have a war coming your way from where you least expect it. This week, the president of Uganda, for those who don't know, is Kenya's landlocked neighbor. He just said that the Indian Ocean, the ocean on the right-hand side of Africa, belongs to him, and that if he doesn't get guaranteed access, they will face wars. Play the clip.
That ocean belongs to me. Because where is my ocean? I'm entitled to that ocean. In future, we are going to have wars.
Now, Museveni likened the situation to only the bottom floor of an entire block of flats being the one that has access and owns the ground compound. I think that was a pretty good analogy, though. And also, to make matters even worse, hours after, the president said this, the country's chief of defense, and also, strangely, the president's son, he's in that position, so it's kind of like, we're not even going to get into that. He said that Kenya must grant us swift access to the Indian Ocean because it rightfully belongs to us. In the future, there will be very big problems if they do not respect our wishes. Now, the big problems that, he might be alluding to give you context, this is also the same general who previously got in big trouble for saying it wouldn't take them even 2 weeks for him and his army to capture Nairobi. So yeah. You get the hint. Now, Kenyans mostly responded with sarcasm, advising Museveni to, take some water from the ocean and bring it to Uganda to create your own ocean. But here's where things get a little bit more serious, because Uganda is not the only African country talking about war right now because of access to the ocean. Just last month, we had Ethiopia, the world's most populated landlocked country, accusing Eritrea of actively preparing for war. Now, this is in part because Ethiopia has been pursuing access to the sea for about 32 years, ever since Eritrea, which now kind of blocks them off, declared independence from Ethiopia in 1993. So this has been a really hot topic, a sensitive topic for the two countries as well. However, Uganda's president also said that war is not the only way. We're talking a lot about war. It's not the only way. He stated that if African countries want to contend with the world, you know, the America, Britain, France, India, China, they must unite and collaborate so that they too can do big things. And this is one of the points he references: go to the moon. I think he wants to go. So the big question for you guys is, are we looking at future ocean wars in Africa, or can they find another way? One that involves peacefully sorting their differences out and uniting. Let me know your thoughts. Moving on. Also, since we last spoke, Gen Z in Mexico have had enough. Yes, we've got another installment of Gen Z protests around the world. Huge demonstrations erupted in several cities in Mexico on Saturday, including outside the president's palace, where Claudia Sheinbaum lives and works. Now, the protesters say that they are angry at the government's failure to clamp down on violent crime. And while it did start out as peaceful, a small group of protesters started turning violent. They started tearing down fences, throwing objects at riot police, and this led to clashes between the two, and they responded by shooting tear gas and fire extinguishers at them. Around 120 people were injured, with 100 of them being police officers. Now, these protests were triggered by the recent public assassination of Mayor Carlos Monzo. He was actually very outspoken about organized crime in the country. Demonstrators at this protest chanted, "Carlos did not die, the government killed him." And similar to other Gen Z organized rallies around the world, the one-piece flag was also seen at that demonstration too. But to give you an idea of what they were protesting, and this truly shocked me when I actually looked at the numbers. Since the year 2000, 8 American politicians have been murdered. In that same time frame, for politicians in Mexico, that number is a staggering 1,271. And that's just murders. That's not political violence. That's not threats. That's not being beaten up. In fact, Mexico's 2024 general election was one of the most violent in the country's history. The CPJ committee found that Mexico has the highest number of disappeared journalists in the world, yet despite that, to date, not one case of a disappeared journalist in Mexico has ever led to a conviction. Also, out of Mexico's total 130,000 people registered as disappeared or missing, only 35 have led to a conviction. Now, the Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum, she actually responded to these Gen Z-led protests by questioning their motivations, saying that they were inorganic, they were paid for and promoted abroad and amplified by bots on social media. A lot of people are defending her, saying that she is has like amazing approval rates, one of the greatest. So I don't know. I would actually love to hear any Mexicans, any locals that live in Mexico, your opinion on this. Because from the outside, it seems and it feels like a pretty hopeless situation, because you go to war against the cartels and the organized crime, and you probably have unimaginable bloodshed. But then if you don't, you still have bloodshed. And how can the public, people live normal lives with the threat of violence always hanging over their head? How can a country's government run with the threat of violence always hanging over their head? I'd love to hear your guys' perspective on this in the comments, so let me know. But for now, moving on. And lastly, this week is going to be massive for the Epstein file situation. In fact, it might be the biggest week we've had yet. And that is because not only are we finally expected to have the vote in the next coming days whether or not the Jeffrey Epstein files should be released or not, and this is from the House, but also last night, out of nowhere, Trump suddenly changed his mind on the whole situation. Now, the reason they haven't voted yet to release the files or not is because Republican Speaker Mike Johnson, he's basically been delaying these votes for months now. About 4 months he's managed to delay this. But now, not only he is saying the vote should go ahead, but Trump is saying it should go ahead too, which makes me really wonder, why now? All of a sudden? Because Trump has previously been lobbying against this vote. Very, very vocally, explicitly. He's been downplaying the attention around these files for months. And then last night he pulled a 180. Why? He posted on Truth Social saying that House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide. And also that it's time to move on from this Democrat hoax perpetuated by the radical left lunatics in order to deflect from the great success of the Republican Party. But here's why it's so confusing. He campaigned saying, release the files, release the files. When he was in, he's saying, guys, forget about it. There's nothing in there. It's a Democrat hoax. And he lobbied against the vote to release the files. Now he's suddenly saying, release the files. Which one is it? And even last week, his own posts kind of contradict what he said last night. He said that only a very bad or stupid Republican would fall into this trap and that there should be no deflections to Epstein. So I don't really know. Maybe he just wants to get this over and done with and move on because he's realizing now no one's gonna let this go. Or something has changed and we have no idea what. Either way, at this point, what matters is if the House votes in favor to release them. Because if they do, one, that's massive. It doesn't mean that they will be released because then it needs to go to the Senate and then it needs to go to the president. Well, we've got the president technically signed off now, so he should be good. The Senate, yeah, I don't know. Well, if the House actually does vote in favor, well, that's going to be enormous pressure on the Senate to also vote in favor. And it also does potentially mean that the House could override the president from blocking the release of the files at a later date. But again, Trump is saying that it should be good. But if the House votes against releasing the files, then the whole thing could be
corn casserole.
Guys, I'm not gonna lie to you. So this might be the best and potentially last real shot that we have to finally get the transparency that everyone has been asking for. And also talking about transparency, you can see publicly who is voting in favor of releasing the files and who is not. You know, just so you know that, you can look online in which people, you know? Just saying. But with that information, I shall leave it there. This is a week wrap. I hope you guys had a it's a good video, wasn't it? I will speak to you guys again on Wednesday. So until then, see you then. Woo!